I know many of you guys want this video. On today's show, we are looking at the top in-season and, more important, after-season replacements for Matt Eberflus as the Cowboys defensive coordinator when he ends up getting fired. So do you want Matt Eberflus fired? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Go ahead and sound off. Do you want Matt Eberflus fired? The internal options here, which no reveal, it's okay. Andre Curtis is the passing game coordinator, which is noteworthy. The issue we run into with all these different guys is specifically Andre Curtis, Dave Borgonzi, David Overstreet, and those three names in particular were all Eberflus guys in Chicago. And maybe where you have some of your biggest issues in the secondary, at linebacker. All of those are kind of huge problems right now. They haven't called plays before either. So are you going to promote the guy whose area of expertise is struggling to be your play caller? J.J. Clark has called plays before at much lower level colleges. He's also a defensive assistant. Probably not a great answer. If you were to actually fire somebody in season, my answer would probably be Aaron Whitecotton. And I'd say, let's go down that path. Let's make him the option. See how he does as the interim. Give him an overview. He's an outside hire relative to Eberflus. D-line hasn't been, they've been bad too, but not as bad as your secondary blown coverages stuff. Maybe he'll do some more man stuff and maybe bring some Robert Saleh elements of the defense and not just silly zones nonsense. I am at the point, though, I kind of don't care who your internal option is. Now, Jerry Jones has made it clear he doesn't like to fire coaches mid-season, even coordinators, although allegedly they were going to fire Mike Nolan until Jane Slater reported it, and the Cowboys got all pissy and defensive and ended up not firing him mid-season because they didn't want to show that Jane was right about all the drama internally. But they don't like doing it. I don't know if they're going to do it in season. So maybe at the end of the year, you get that. But you're also not going to hire an outside guy mid-season, so those are your options anyway. Coming up next, a deeper look at the outside options. So I've got 4 different sections here. Regime change people who have a job you couldn't hire them from right now, but they might get fired as head coach, or their head coach might get fired. They could be looking for a new job. The up-and-comers, the young guys who maybe haven't done DC work or much DC work. The currently unemployed. You could hire them today. Maybe you don't want to. And the experienced options, guys who have called defensive coordinator stuff before. One key thing that I want to do if and when you fire Matt Eberflus is please do a real search. Do not just hire somebody that you know. That is what you did with Matt Eberflus. That is what you did with Mike Zimmer. You didn't do a real coaching search. You picked your guy because you knew them and you thought they were good and you trusted them. And, it kind of worked out with Dan Quinn. They knew Dan Quinn. Didn't work out with Eberflus. Do a real search. Don't force it on your head coach because, let's be honest, the front office hired Eberflus, not Schottenheimer. He's not a Schottenheimer guy. What is the % chance that the Cowboys fire Matt Eberflus in mid-season? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. What is the % chance the Cowboys fire Matt Eberflus mid-season? 5 regime change guys to keep an eye out for if they get fired or their head coach gets fired. Aaron Glenn is one to monitor. It looks like it's a mess in New York. That's an offensive issue more than anything else, but they're not flipping out Fields yet as of maybe I wouldn't be shocked they did this week. I think there's some concerns on that front with Glenn. He was a good DC in Detroit, though, and he loves man coverage. What we all want, right? Steve Wilks is a guy the Cowboys know. I don't love that option. I would hope you'd be able to do better, but I think that's been a guy on their list before. But they've had some semblance of yes, we know this guy. We're familiar with him. He's been around the league for a long time. Maybe he could be an option. The Dolphins, they have to clean house. Anthony Weaver has had head coaching interviews. His defense sucks in Miami, though. Not interested there. Jim Schwartz, the Browns fire Stefanski. I don't know if they will, but again, his defenses have typically been pretty good. Tennessee has actually already fired Brian Callahan. Wouldn't be surprised if Dennard Wilson ends up being available. The Titans' offense has been their biggest issue. Wilson's actually done, I think, a solid job. The defense has fallen apart late in the year, but he's done a good job in the past. handling things with the way his team is run. I actually would not sleep at all. I think it's an under-the-radar name here. In Dennard Wilson, not a household name. Tennessee's bad. Schottenheimer and Dennard Wilson, by the way, did overlap with the St. Louis Rams together. They were on the same staff, so don't sleep on that one as a dark horse option. Today's show is made possible by Omaha Steaks. Special deal alert for you guys. Make sure you're paying attention here. Get an extra $35 off at omahasteaks.com by using promo code Cowboys at checkout. That is on top of their 50% off site-wide sale, plus an extra 20% off select favorites and more limited time deals during their early Black Friday sale. That is promo code Cowboys to get that deal. Takes the classic favorite assortment under $100 in total for sirloins, pork chops, burgers, franks, fries, caramel apple tartlets, and more over at Omaha Steaks. They offer handcrafted steaks and just fall favorites too, to burgers and pork chops and chickens and franks and everything else kind of in between. And you have steakhouse fries, which are always so good. Get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com to get 50% off site-wide, plus an extra 25% off, or 20% off select favorites, and more limited time deals during that early Black Friday sale. Use promo code Cowboys at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details. A big thank you to our advertiser, Omaha Steaks. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's get to the up-and-comers. Al Harris is first up here. You guys, I know the comments are going to be flooded with Al Harris, and I get it. Two things. You were 31st in points per game last year. I'm not sure it was actually that good of a defense, frankly. I am down. He is on my list for a reason. He is on my list to interview. With that said, I don't want to just give him the job, because you're kind of making the exact same mistake. We just think he's better of just giving a guy the job because you know him. Put him on your list. Do a real search. I honestly don't know if he is ready to coordinate a defense. Interviewing him would help you determine that, and he should be on your interview list, but he should not be the only guy on there. DeMarcus Covington, who I'm still going to categorize as a young up-and-comer, even though has had experience, I should say, as a defensive coordinator in New England. Maybe wasn't the best season. I wonder how much of that was Gerard Mayo versus not Gerard Mayo. Now is the Packers D-line and run game coordinator. And oh, look, the Packers have a really good run defense, even though they got Micah Parsons. Go figure. Chris Kurrick, the Niners defensive line coach. All the Niners do is produce good defensive line play. Again, I don't know if he's ready enough to be a defensive coordinator, or if the NFL views him as a potential coordinator. I'm not sure if he's just going to be like the D-line coach kind of over and over again at each spot, but that is an under-the-radar name I don't think should be slept on. Same with Michael Hutchings, the Vikings safeties coach. If you listen to guys like I think Connor Orr and Tom Pelissero, they do like their up-and-comers list. He's been on this list for a couple of years now. He's only the safeties coach. He's learning under Brian Flores. He's only 30 years old. Super young, but that is an up-and-comer, like maybe a smart team would end up interviewing him for their defensive coordinator gig. Another name that, again, you might not be overly familiar with is Robert Livingston, who is currently the Colorado Buffaloes defensive coordinator. And that defense has actually been pretty good relative to expectations with and without Travis Hunter. He was the Bengals safety coach set for several years. Doesn't turn 40 until November. That's one of the college guys you would mention. I don't think they're going to go that hard at college guys because it's not the Joneses way anymore, but is worth mentioning. Another under-the-radar up-and-comer, Aubrey Pleasant, who has had some interviews, I believe, in the past for defensive coordinator roles. He is a former NFL player, by the way, briefly, I guess. I guess he maybe wasn't that much of an NFL player. He kind of went undrafted, but has been a long-time DB's coach. He spent time with the Rams back in 2017, 2020. Lions, Packers, back with the Rams now. He's had some interviews in the past as well. So who do you want to hire as the next Cowboys DC if/when Matt Eberflus gets fired? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. 4 currently unemployed names that I want to mention. Mike Zimmer, which they weren't that good on defense last year. They were better when Micah got back, but still kind of Don't know if that's a great solution either. Rex Ryan is an ESPN analyst. He wants a job. He wants to come back coaching. I actually hate it. He hasn't coached in a very long time. Feels like it's worth mentioning. And he's kind of like far too obviously pining and pursuing a head coaching gig. I genuinely worry about Rex Ryan like being a bit of like a coaching staff troublemaker and like trying to like undercut the head coach. I don't really want him on my staff. Antonio Pierce actually hasn't been a DC, and it was kind of bad in Vegas. Gerard Mayo's been very quiet since getting fired by New England. Kind of hasn't been a DC like Foley either, but has defensive background in the end. This is not the last time we will discuss defensive coordinators and coaches and everything else in between. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/Cowboys TV for more free Cowboys YouTube videos. Some other experienced options here. Ryan Nielsen has been a multi-time defensive coordinator. Saints, Falcons, Jags is concerning. He's been fired 3 spots in a row or asked to leave or let leave, whatever. He's a Bills assistant defensive coach right now. Leslie Frazier interviewed for your jobs last year. He is a assistant head coach for the Seahawks. Kind of feels like just a retread route you don't really want to go. One of my favorite names on this list is Jim Leonard, who is currently the Broncos passing game coordinator. You remember him probably as the Wisconsin defensive coordinator. In fact, he's been on these lists before. I'm actually kind of surprised at age 42, he hasn't gotten another chance to be a defense coordinator because he was great at Wisconsin. Interim head coach, they picked Luke Fickell instead of him. Whoopsies. Wonder if he's going to be in play this time around for Wisconsin if and when they fire Fickell. Now is helping out the Broncos as a defensive passing game coordinator and assistant head coach. I think it would be a prime defensive coordinator option. Joe Cullen briefly has had some defensive coordinator experience. He is the Chiefs defensive line coach. Wanted to shout him out as a candidate because Chiefs feel like for the most part they get pretty decent defensive results there. Has been with Jacksonville and Baltimore and Tampa and all these different spots over the course of his career. It's a name the Cowboys know. It's Ken Norton Jr. And I would actually not like this idea. Norton Jr. has been a defensive coordinator. Back with Seattle from 2018 to 2021 and the Raiders from 2015 to 2017, and it was bad. I know he played for you years ago, 1988 to 1993. He's fine as a linebackers coach. He's outmanned as a defensive coordinator. And then Don Wink Martindale, who I don't actually love. In many ways, though, this is like the anti-Eberflus hire. Like, oh, Eberflus wants to play zone and not blitz. Martindale goes, I'm going to blitz. You shouldn't blitz, Don. I'm going to blitz again. And it's kind of like all he does in like a sometimes fun, sometimes frustrating way. Notable name, and there could even be some turnover in Michigan staff this upcoming season too.